Yay, hello, happy Wednesday. Let me get my screen pulled up. I am so excited today to talk about this. I've been wanting to talk about it for weeks. I'm chomping at the bit. This is something I really am excited to share with you today. It's all about the secret to creating and building a successful business, and it will change your life now because it changed my life when I learned how to do it. And so, not how to do it, but when I realized this, it was just such a game changer. So let me pull up my Facebook so that I can see any comments. If you're here live, please pop in and say hello. Here we are. Yeah, because I love talking to you live and interacting. And then if you're catching the replay, please be sure to just comment and I'll talk to you there as well. We have kind of a cold going around in our family, so my throat is scratchy. So I will be taking sips of water. So I'm sorry, but of course, the last 2 weeks of school, we have to get colds because that's just how this works. So we will get started. I've got my notes pulled up because I don't want to forget anything. I'm really excited about this, as I said, but here we go. So the secret to building a really successful business is there is no secret. So it's such an eye roll thing. Please don't turn off your computers right now. But it really changed my life and it sounds so simple. But it's just when I realized that, it was just so freeing. And I know a lot of people really want it to be something else. They want there to be a secret out there that someone has, or a 20-step process. If they could just pay the right person, then they would get the secret sauce and know what to do. And I think it's so liberating and freeing to know that there is no secret. And this really changed how I show up in my business. And I've been in business for 6 years now, but the first 5 years of it, I had kids at home and I really wasn't focused on growing my business. That just wasn't really a thing for me. It was just do the work that I needed to do, and work just kind of showed up when it came up. And, that was just kind of my focus, was just working and squeezing it in when I had the time. And now that, my kids are at school and I have more time, I'm definitely reading more books and listening to podcasts, and I love learning, and I love, all things business related. I'm just kind of like a sponge, taking it all in. And it's just so powerful to know that this is all great information and it's all great stuff and content out there, but it's not like there's a secret that I don't know. And so, I really encourage you to use this mindset in your business. And that doesn't mean don't get support, because I am a huge advocate of getting support in our business. I just think that when we go into it knowing that this person doesn't have the secret, then it's just such a better relationship where we can co-create the best business together instead of handing our power over to them. So, something I like to think about is, there's the business owner that's white knuckling everything, and they don't want to pay anyone to help them in their business, and they're doing it all, and they don't want to spend any money for anything else. And then there's the other spectrum of the business owner that's I just want someone to tell me what to do. You're the numbers person, help me figure it out and I'll do it. And I think there's just this beautiful space in the middle where we get to get support with someone and know that it's just this creative process that we're working on together. It's not like they have this 20-step process or this 3-month program that's just going to change everything and fix everything. But it's just something that is done kind of on our own terms, and we get the support that we need. So something I always say to business owners when I'm meeting with them or, potentially working with them, always say I don't have a magic wand. I can't come in and fix this for you. And of course that's very obviously I don't have a magic wand, but I think sometimes people come into kind of a coaching support relationship and they want the person to have a magic wand, even if they don't, consciously think that, they kind of subconsciously are this person has the answers. And so I like to be very clear and let people know that this isn't some 20-step process that's just gonna we'll check all the boxes and you'll be done. And if you do find someone that tells you that, then kind of run in the other direction. And I wouldn't go that route, which some people, in their defense, they do have a process that is like a template that worked for them or that worked for certain clients that they had, but it might not work for everyone. I always use the strategize, organize, implement process, but it's not this like generic template canned process that, it's just this secret Excel spreadsheet that I have and that I'll hand over to you when we work together. Like there's definitely a framework and there's definitely a, method to the madness type of thing, but it's not just this like, I'm going to, do everything and fix it for you. And just a little background on me, I like to use analogies of, working out and health and stuff, because that's just always something I've enjoyed through my life. And when I was little, I used to make workout videos. And when I was in Charlotte, I was an instructor and did group exercise at the Y. I taught group exercise. And so I always like to do these fitness analogies. And, something that comes to my mind is, weight loss. Weight loss is very simple. Really the only way to lose weight naturally is to, burn more calories than you take in. That's the only way, but it is a very complicated process and people get very confused and people spend a lot of time and a lot of money, looking for the next thing that's going to help them. There's all kinds of fitness, plans out there and diets, and what we really have to think about when we're choosing those is what works for us, because you could walk into a gym, you could tell the trainer you want to lose 20 pounds, and they could give you a plan that worked for someone, but it might not work for you. If the plan included working out for an hour a day and only eating vegetables and not drinking any wine or not eating any chocolate, like that might not work for you and your lifestyle. Or if it does work for you for a while, you're going to get sick of it and just gain all the weight back that you lost because that didn't suit your life. And so that's kind of the analogy I used for growing businesses and being successful in businesses. There is no like one and done template. I love a good hook, so I had to use the secret to success. There is no secret, but I just think it's such such a good analogy with when you think about in fitness. Like we wouldn't expect someone to just, give us a plan that would just work for us. Like we really need to figure out like what works with our lifestyle, what works with our goals, and just how to make the process enjoyable along the way. And so that's what I really like talking to business owners about and working on with them, because, it's really about doing it our way. And definitely I have things that I work on and that I know that business owners just, it's just outside of their wheelhouse for knowledge, like the bookkeeping stuff, the saving for taxes, the paying themselves, like this just sometimes the stuff that they don't know, but it's not like, some secret that I'm the only person that has it. It's just this relationship that we have and we work together and kind of build the business that they want. So this is what I love to do and I love to talk about. So I feel like this goes well with my honesty calls that I offer. So if you're interested, I'll drop the link below. But the honesty calls are really to figure out what's working in your business and create more of that. So they're just these 30-minute calls. And I think business owners are kind of overwhelmed when they're talking to me about what they want to do. And so just the honesty call is a great place to start because it's just focused on what's working. I think that's the easiest, kind of most natural thing to start with for me. And it's just, let's start there, because they can go into a long list and a long tangent of what's not working and what they don't like and what needs to change. And that's fine. But, I like to swing to the other pendulum of, well, let's focus on the good and create more of that. So if you're interested, like I said, some of the calls are kind of booking up. So I think the closest ones are in June. But if you message me, I can open a spot and we can figure something out. But yeah, this is what I encourage you to do. And just know, like, if you want to get support with someone, or if you're reading books or you're interested in listening to podcasts, like just coming from that mindset of like, there is no secret. I have everything within me to create the business I want. I might get support around it, but it's not like I have to go pay someone to, hand over the magic recipe, because that's not how it works. And, I'll be totally transparent. Like I love, getting support, and I did training. I did a program to learn how to do these advisory service and kind of move from that bookkeeping to the advisory role. So I did a big training with that. I've done masterminds. Now I'm working with another coach. And so I just think it's really nice to have the support in your business. Obviously my coaching is like numbers focused and all that. So I'm working with someone on more like mindset stuff, like, limiting beliefs and upper limit problems and just more of the mindset side of it. And so I just think that's just a fun way to get support in your business, because it's just a way to grow and know that you can do it in your own way and on your own terms. And so I love being like a detective with business owners and figuring out what's really going on. A lot of them feel like they're kind of doing things just because they're supposed to, or they need to grow and hit this revenue, or they need to grow their team just because they're supposed to, or because that's just what you do. And so I really like to kind of unpack that and get curious and figure out like what the real, solve the right problem. Like, what are we really trying to do with our business? What do we really want it to provide for us? Because, our business shouldn't just be like sucking us dry of our time and money and all that stuff. Like, we should be able to give to it, and it should be able to provide and give back to us. So I think it's just this nice framework for looking at businesses. And as you are growing your business, and, just being online, there's like always someone that can sell you something or some program or a free download or whatever. And it can just get really overwhelming. And so I really encourage you and want you to take away from this is just that knowing that, like, no one has the secret. And, if you do want support going into it, knowing that it's something that you're doing together and they're not going to like wave a magic wand and fix it. So I hope this has been really helpful and just kind of a different way to look at things, because like I said, it changed my life. And I don't really say things changed my life. I'm not like a dramatic person. Like, the people that are always like, oh, that pizza changed my life. And I'm like, I mean, it was good, but it's pizza. But this is something that literally, like, the framework and the mindset of it really changed how I thought about business and made me feel just so much more at peace and at ease. The name of this group is Peaceful and Profitable. And so feeling peaceful in your business is just such a huge thing. And I think this is a mindset piece of it that will help you as you go forward and know that, there's no secret. So good news and bad news for some people. But if you want any support, reach out, let me know. I'd love to talk to you. So that's it for today, and have a great Wednesday. Thanks.